Some of you I know, and possibly some I don't. So I'm Tejananda. I live at Vajraloka Meditation Centre in North Wales, and Vajraloka's been going for 40 years actually this year, and at the moment, of course, we're not running scheduled retreats here, but we're just starting to run online retreats, and I've already done a few online retreats myself. So it's good to be at Buddhafield. I've never actually made it to Buddhafield, apart from once when Buddhafield ran an event that I was co-leading, but it wasn't actually a Buddhafield retreat. So yeah, I'm hoping, I have been talking about this, that sometime in the next few years, the Vajraloka team will come and lead one of the total immersion retreats, but we shall see. We don't know what's going to happen, do we? Okay, so the theme is, I think it's body, heart, space. So, sorry, body, heart, love. I want to add in space, which is part of the theme. So we're going to be exploring the body, so from that point of view, we're exploring mindfulness of the body, we're exploring the area that in Triratna we call integration, or an aspects of it. And we're also going to be exploring the heart, love, that's the area of the divine abodes, metta, love, compassion, and so forth. Yeah, so we'll be going into that. But the approach that I want to take is more, is very body-based. The approach to the love aspect, the metta aspect, is based in integration into the body. Yeah, so we're going to spend probably most of today's session on that. But the body aspect also includes the space aspect. So we're going to be exploring both our experience of the body and our experience of the space, okay? So if you haven't been on stuff with me before, I like to work in an interactive way. I like to sort of just get you to do something, bring something into your practice. We'll move into this fairly gradually. And then ask for any questions or observations or feedback. So, do feel free to, do so. Do feel free to, say stuff. Also, don't feel obliged to say stuff, but, it's useful just to, to clarify what's going on with people if people are prepared to say a bit about what they observe in relation to what I suggest. Okay, look, I want to start with a short sort of preliminary exercise just to get one important thing in perspective, and this is the distinction between mind and body. Yeah, this is a very, very basic and important distinction in terms of meditation, I'd say in terms of Dharma practice generally. Yeah, so we tend to spend a lot of our lives in our mind. In fact, in a way, almost all of our experience is meant, is through the mind. And by that, I mean the conceptualizing mind. We spend a lot of time conceptualizing, thinking, proliferating. Yeah, so the proliferation aspect of it, we're going to address shortly. And what we're doing today is partly about addressing the tendency of the mind to proliferate. But I just want to get that basic distinction in view. So let's just do a short exercise. If you just get comfortable for a few minutes. Okay, and also it'd be great if you've got the bandwidth, if you turn on your video so that I can see you all as well. Okay, so just settle into your basic posture. We'll go more into aspects of posture shortly, but for now, just sit comfortably. You don't even necessarily need to be in a meditation posture. Okay, so I've got a little bell here, and here it is. So what I'd like you to do, having heard that bell, is hear it again in your mind. So just hear the bell mentally. Okay, now I'm going to strike it again. Now hear it again. Recreate it. Right, so that's the exercise. Now, what I'd like for observations on is what was the most important difference between those two, between actually hearing it and recreating it? What was the most obvious difference? So unmute yourself if you want to say something.
The real bell was louder.
Real bell was louder, okay. So how loud is an imagined bell?
Quieter than a real one.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting.
In this case, anyway.
Yeah. So
well, sorry.
You imagined it quieter.
The imagined bell wasn't actually there.
Yes. Where was it? Okay, so we've got that. The imagined bell is not actually there. So again, I'm going for the obvious here. I'm not looking for anything very subtle. I'm just going for the obvious answer. What is the difference between the sound that you heard?
It's like a memory. There was an experience and then a memory of the experience.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a memory. And where do memories happen, so to speak?
In the mind.
In the mind, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, that's the primary difference I'm getting at. You've got an actual sound. You experience the sound, and then you remember it. You can recreate it having once heard it, but that is a mental experience, and the other is an oral experience. Okay. So this points to a function of our of our sense fields actually, and our memory. We have the capacity to obviously receive things through the body senses, so seeing and hearing and smelling and so forth. And once we've experienced something, we have the capacity to reimagine it. We can imagine it happening. This is how we can identify things. So if you if you have one of those blind tasting tests, for instance, where you're blindfolded and people put things in your mouth, which is a bit of a sort of I don't know. That can go several ways, but it's just if somebody puts say a strawberry in your mouth and you've tasted a strawberry before, then you'll know it. Yeah. If there's a fruit that you haven't tasted before, you'll know that there's a taste to it, but you won't be able to identify it as this particular thing. So this is just to demonstrate the degree to which the mind is so important in our identifying experience. But what can happen is that in meditation, we get a bit confused between what is mental and what is our actual experience. And this is particularly the case if meditation is being led. For instance, you can try this now. If I say to you, just quickly bring attention to the middle joint of the ring finger on your left hand. Okay, got there. So I gave a slightly complex suggestion there, just to give you, a bit of searching to do. But how did you come from the words that I was saying into the actual experience? Indeed, did you come into the actual experience? Yeah. How did your awareness get into, the sensation of that from me just saying those words?
I make an image in my mind.
Sorry?
I make an image in my mind, so a picture in my mind. So I'm into the picture rather than the sensation.
Yeah. So you used an image, a mental image. And then did that enable you to find the sensation?
Kind of. But it's a vague sensation.
Yeah. It's a it is. It is a pretty vague sensation. Now you mention it, but there is a sensation there. Yeah. Now, the potential problem that I'm pointing to here is that, especially when you're being led into meditation, and whoever's leading it is saying, you bring your attention to this, bring your attention to that. It's possible just to get stuck with the concept, the abstraction, and not come into the actual experience. So just be aware of that possibility. And if ever I'm saying something, bring your attention to this, bring your attention to that, notice whether you're actually doing so or whether you're creating a mental version of it. Another kind of mental version is an imagined visual image of it. So for instance, shortly we'll be bringing attention, say, to our face. So it's like everybody has a visual image, a mental visual image of their own face, and it's usually from looking at oneself in the mirror. So if you've got a very clear imagination, you might be having a sense of your face back to front. But anyway, you've got a mental image of your face. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to experience it somatically, which means the sensate, energetic sensate experience of the face, the living experience of the face. So just be aware of that possibility that you're visualizing your face, and the visualization is somewhat obscuring your actual experience. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Any questions? Okay, great. So let's just, on that basis, let's do a meditation, and we're going to start getting into the experience, the direct experience of the body. So just set up your posture, your meditation posture. And when you're in your posture, don't particularly do anything to begin with, just let things be, just sit. And just sitting just to get a sense of how we are, what's going on in the mind, what's going on in the body. What's arising in the other senses, sounds and so forth. So if you're noticing that there's a good deal of mental activity going on, and even maybe some repetitive, proliferating thoughts, just don't do anything with them. We're not going to try and repress them or stop them. Just leave them to themselves and bring your awareness into the sensations of the face. So bearing in mind what I just said, watch out for projecting a mental image of your face. So this is the sensate face, the somatic face. And you can let your awareness sort of explore, roam around different areas of the face, including the forehead and the jaw. And as you're doing that, notice whether you're finding any tensions or holdings, without particularly making any big deal of it. Just notice whether simply being aware of any contractions, tensions, enables that tension to relax, at least to some degree. Okay, now extend your area of awareness to the whole of the head, the rest of the head, the scalp, the ears, the back of the head. And notice that by being aware of the sensations of the head, the sensate head or the somatic head, you're by default taking awareness away from the thinking head, or the sense that thoughts are taking place in the head, which most people have most of the time. So here is the somatic head in your experience. And then let the awareness begin to move downwards through the neck and throat. And into the shoulders and top of the chest. And let it be in the sensations rather than in imagining that part of the body. Keep it coming down through the chest, down into the mid-chest, the heart area. The lower chest, down towards the diaphragm. And then the upper abdomen. See if you can be aware of sensations inside, not just on the surface of the abdomen. And the lower abdomen. Right down into the pelvis area and the pelvic floor. And then let the awareness take in the upper legs, lower legs, and the feet. Okay, now given that you're sitting down, notice that there are areas of stronger sensation where you have contact with the seat or cushion and the floor. Just notice those stronger sensations. So the sensations of which we identify as pressure, weight, the weight of the body in relation to the gravity of the earth. Now let your awareness really be in those sensations, those particular sensations of pressure, weight. And notice that you might, again mentally, project a sense of them being solid or heavy. But if possible, let go of any mental labeling and simply experience them as they are directly. Be in those sensations. Notice whether there's a tendency to feel that you're still somehow up in the head, looking down at these sensations in the base of your posture. And see if you can just let go of that idea. It's only an idea. And notice that your experience, your awareness is actually just in those sensations where they are. So you're bringing your awareness away from the mental aspect of your experience, the thinking, the imagining aspect, simply by having it in effectively the opposite end of the body at the moment, in our contact with the seat and the floor. So notice, without going into the thoughts, notice whether they've quietened down at all, even slightly. Or indeed, notice whether they've started proliferating more. Just be curious about what's going on. Keeping the awareness in the sensations of contact with the floor. And then from there, expand your sphere of awareness to include the whole of the sensate body. The whole of the somatic body as a unified field, so to speak, of sensations. Is your awareness in the head now, in the thoughts, or is it in the sensate body, the soma? I should say, to what degree is it in the mental activity? To what degree in the soma? Are you more embodied and less in the thinking mind? Okay, so just relax and let go of any doing for a few moments. Just sit as you are. Okay, so any observations on that practice, particularly with regard to, did the mind quieten? Or did you notice, what happened with any mental proliferation? Did it increase? Did it decrease?
For me, it decreased right up until we got to, I think, maybe the top of the legs or something, and then it just went so crazy. I actually stopped meditating and followed my thoughts, which I'm very embarrassed to admit to.
No,
I sent somebody an email in the middle of that.
I think it's great. You're noticing what's going on, and that's interesting. It's all sort of useful feedback, feedback to yourself. So what is it? You could become curious about that. What is it about that point at which you sort of, was that the point you came into the legs?
Yeah, I think it's a problem I have actually of maintaining focus over a set period of time. I'm in such a lovely space to start off with, and then it's like I don't know if it's my mind or my body or what it is, just won't. There's some kind of barrier there that I don't seem to be able to overcome very easily.
Okay. Well, it might be that you could notice how that span where you can sort of remain in the experience, and then just meditate for that long, have little rest, and then do it again. Yeah, I'm not sort of have a rest in the sense of go and have a couple of hours nap, but just sort of keeping the posture even. Just let go of doing. Let the mind do whatever it likes, and then come back into it, and you just see if it doing through short periods that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else got any observations?
Just one, Tejananda, in that I always feel like I'm viewing my legs, feet from there, going down and then into the body. So I'm always coming from this point down.
Yeah.
And then like in my body, but I'm kind of viewing the whole time. Like I'm always watching, even watching the sensations, and it always seems to be from my head space.
Yeah, well, I mean, to a certain extent, that's fair enough, isn't it? Because we have so many sense fields in the head, and obviously we also feel that the thinking, the brain activity, if you like, is happening in the head. So there's a lot going on in the head, and we're sort of we're quite conditioned to feel that that is where I am. Yeah. So all you can do is in a sense you can just keep bringing it down. Yeah. And at the moment I'm emphasizing the contact with the the gravitational contact with the seat and floor, but we'll also shortly be coming into the lower abdomen, the area that I call the hara, where you can do the same. So keep bringing it down and just notice, well, okay, there is quite a lot going on in the head, but actually the awareness, if it is in those sensations, that's where the awareness is. The awareness isn't ever anywhere other than where the thing that's being aware of, I'm getting a bit convoluted here, it's always where you're aware. Yeah. Any other?
Yeah, what I experience is that the level of relaxation I feel with the body scan, I just don't get it with anything, it's a very high level of relaxation. It's really nice. I even use it with headaches when I have a migraine. It works well for me to do this. And sometimes in the mornings when I wake up and it's maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, I do it to go back to sleep.
Right.
And I had a little bit of a concern thinking that I may get used, I don't know if this is a bit silly, but it's like I don't want to confuse meditation with body scan or relaxation. Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say they're all aspects of meditation, or they're all aspects of mindfulness. Yeah. So it's just a question of being aware, or to put it this way, is being aware of what you're being mindful of right now. Yeah. And also, there are different ways in which you can do that. You can be aware of the breath. You can do the mindfulness of breathing, or you can do a body scan. And again, it's just a question of being aware of what practice you're doing. So at the moment, we're just being aware of the body in the way that I'm suggesting, which is neither a body scan nor the mindfulness of breathing, really.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any others?
I was just going to say, maybe similar to Lakati, that in a way, awareness, it's almost like it continually comes up into the head. So it's like 1 minute with sensations, I don't know, in the feet or whatever, or aware of pressure, but it's almost like it's always coming up for air.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, I mean, it is, and as I said, it's a very, very strong conditioning that we have, and it could take, to be honest, it could take a long time. I know, I know both you and Amalakoto have been meditating for a long time, so it can take a long time for in a way, the penny to drop. That the sensations are, if your sensations are in your feet, you're aware of those sensations. That's where your awareness is. I think sometimes people feel, well, it's all happening in the brain somehow, but that's not your actual experience. We just believe it's happening in the brain experientially, but it's not. Experientially, if you're aware of your foot, that's where your awareness is. But it's difficult to believe that sometimes. So just keep keep on keeping on. Yeah. There's no magical panacea really when you've got that sort of thing. It's just like gradually it becomes more and more clear. Yeah. Okay, so what we're doing here, I mean, potentially we could be moving towards the mindfulness of breathing. At the moment, we're just becoming aware of the body directly. And I mean, even if to some extent you have got that sense of being up in the head or being an observer, nevertheless, as long as you've got a sense of the actual sensations, that's enough to work with. So what we're going to do now is to build on that. And the main concern at the moment is to allow the mind to quieten somewhat. Yeah, because once the mind is quietened sufficiently, then you could say that we're really in meditation. And at that point, you can start to look even more clearly at your experience. Yeah, so that's the objective. But I just want to do another session in which we'll bring in some more what I would call subtleties of posture, which help us become, potentially help us become more deeply embodied yet. So let's just do another session. So just sit. Just get a sense of what's going on, particularly with the mind and the body, the soma. And then again, to whatever extent you're in the thoughts, just leave them alone. Don't try and do anything with them or stop them, but just leave them alone. Bring awareness into the sensations of the face and then the rest of the head. Just let awareness explore those sensations. And then in your own time, let the awareness move downwards, taking in the sensations of the neck, the upper chest, and so on, down until they reach the sensations of contact with the seat and the floor. And be clear that you're aware of the actual sensations as the awareness moves downwards, rather than visualizing that part of the body. So the sensations of contact are the grounding of our posture. We are, in a sense, grounded, or even earth. We're in contact with the earth beneath us, quite directly through the effect of gravity. So feel those sensations directly, those more intense sensations. And then a method that some people find quite helpful for getting a sense of lift and energy into the posture, into the body, is to imagine that you're breathing up from the earth. So rather than, well, what is actually happening physically with the breath, on the in-breath, it comes up through the pelvic floor, right up the central core of the body, up to the top of the head. On the out-breath, it goes down into the earth. And what we're imagining here as regards the earth is more the earth as an energetic entity, the earth of chi or prana, energy. So it's that energy that we're breathing up right through the core of our body. And you can use a slightly stronger breath here if you wish to, just to get a sense of it. So be aware of what effect it's having. Is it helping or hindering? You do it a few times. So stay with whatever sense of lift or energy that's brought, if it has. And then check the upper body for alignment. So it can be that we're slightly leaning one way or another, back or forth. So you can very simply and subtly check this by gently moving back and forth, left and right, and looking for the point where the body feels poised, the upper body feels poised. And when it's poised, it's as effortless as it can be. And it also helps with alignment if you have the chin very slightly tucked in, not pulled right in, but just, as it were, not jutting out, not pulled right in, but in between, so that there's a slight lengthening of the back of the neck. So you've got this sense of grounding, lift, energy, alignment. And the other main thing is to relax, let go of whatever you can let go of, whatever tensions or holdings, contractions. Just let go. And just be the breathing body. Just be the whole sphere of sensations of the breathing body. If you find that too diffuse, having a sense of the whole sensate body, I'd recommend trying bringing the awareness to the lower abdomen. So I refer to that as the hara. That's one traditional term for it. So just the middle of the lower abdomen, and let the awareness rest there, noticing the subtle movements relative to the breath. So equally, at this point, if you wish, you could move into some aspect of the mindfulness of breathing. But I suggest for now, if possible, you keep either with whole body or with the hara. Then just let go of making any effort. Just relax out of effort. Okay, so any observations there or any questions?
I noticed something that may seem very trivial, but it never occurred to me before, and that's that when I turn my attention to bodily sensations, I'm able to be with them and they remain the same. But when I turn my attention to my thinking process, the thoughts just disappear. So they're more like these very fragile bubbles, which as soon as I turn towards them, they're gone. Whereas my bodily sensations are not like that. So the fact that we call the mind one of the senses, I began to wonder how is it similar to the rest of the senses if it behaves so differently in this particular sense?
Well, I would suggest exploring the body more precisely in terms of, well, I mean, because you said something like the experience stays the same. Was that what you said?
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily stay the same, but it doesn't disappear.
Doesn't disappear, yeah. So the body doesn't disappear.
Well,
let's use the example of seeing. You know, it's like if you look around, you see various things, and you're still seeing, but you're seeing different things. With thoughts, it's like little different thoughts are bubbling up, and it's similar, isn't it? You're seeing. In this case, you're mentally experiencing different thoughts, With the body, with the soma, if you bring your awareness to it, well, actually, it's always there. But again, if you go into it more precisely, you'll find that, as we'll be looking at in a moment, that our experience of the soma is more like it's energetic, it's fizzing, it's bubbly, yeah, it's effervescent almost. I mean, I can't think of a better word for it, but it's just like that is also, although it's body feelings, you're not having just one body feeling all the time. And if you bring your awareness to it, there it is. It's just like it's constantly kind of tingling, fizzing, bubbling. Yeah. So it's like in that way, you're getting into the energy of the sense fields. And you're noticing a particular thing with regard to the mind, which is that, it's a very interesting observation. As soon as you really bring your attention to what you're thinking, it stops, it disappears. Yeah. Because there's something different about the mind, which is that, well, I'm talking about thoughts, and if you're kind of, or if you're playing out a mental image, it's like if you look at what's exactly happening now, you won't find it, because that image or that thought is playing out in terms of memory and anticipation. We can't have a whole thought in this moment. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and quite a lot of it is the stuff of insight. But it's all good stuff. So, any other observations?
Yeah, I had quite an interesting experience, Tejananda, when you said to stop making any kind of effort. And I suppose because I do quite a bit of like all body breathing when I'm doing Qigong, and I just sort of realised that I wasn't really making any effort. There wasn't any effort there. So I just sort of had a little, I can't really stop making effort because there wasn't really any effort, and I just relaxed back into it.
Yeah. Well, very often when we, in a sense, when we're given permission not to make effort, but still to be there, as it were, you're still meditating, but without effort, you can notice that actually it is effortless. What you've been perhaps putting subtle effort into, that subtle effort isn't always necessary. Yeah, it's just like it's there. The body is there anyway. All of these sense arisings are happening anyway, and it's not like I'm doing it. It's more like, well, awareness is just aware of it, and awareness is just aware of it anyway. You could say there's more presence to it, but relaxing and really letting go is a very good way sometimes of letting the awareness deepen. Of course, sometimes the opposite happens and you just start sort of proliferating. But with all of this, it's a question of playing with it. Seeing what happens when I do this. Is that helpful? I mean, I suppose our main objective so far has been just sort of allowing, through somatic embodiment, allowing the mind to settle through becoming embodied. So, if that's the objective, and that is where we need to start any session, what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so any more observations or questions? Okay, so we'll move on. We've only got 25 minutes or so, but I'd like to take this further. Now, hopefully, we've all become a bit more settled. The mind has quietened down, at least to some extent, hopefully. We can now just explore the body in terms of the sensations and space. So space is quite important when we come into what we're going to be doing tomorrow on the love aspect, the metta aspect, and the compassion aspect. So let's just get back into the body and find some space in the body. So just resume your posture, and I'm not going to go through everything that we've been through again in detail, but just have an initial sense of how it is with mind and body. And then you can either much more briefly do that, bringing awareness into the head and then down to the base of the posture, or you can bring awareness immediately into the sensations of contact with the seat and the floor. So having that sense of being grounded, being supported by the earth. And if you found it useful, you could use the breathing up from the earth to bring some lift and energization into the posture, into the upper body. Subtly checking the alignment of the upper body, the chin not being too far out or too far in also. And then letting go of whatever contractions or holdings you can let go of. And open the awareness to the whole sphere or field of body tactile experience, somatic experience, somatic energy. And let the awareness explore the different kinds and qualities and intensities of body sensations. Some will be quite intense. And the feeling tone, the Vedana quality, Could be pleasant, it could be unpleasant, it could be neutral. With these intense sensations. And with all the others, in fact. So just notice it has a certain quality on the spectrum of from unpleasant through to very pleasant. And it also has a certain degree of intensity. So these tend to be the most obvious sensations in the body. But notice that there are less intense, more subtle sensations as well. So explore the more subtle sensations. Right down to very subtle, maybe subtly tingling sorts of sensation. And then taking, again, all of them together, just the whole sensate body, the whole tactile body. And can you get a sense that all of these sensations are actually vibrational? So you've got the very subtle tingles, but even the stronger, more intense ones are kind of permeated by vibration. So see if you can sense that. Especially with any areas of sensation which feel kind of solid and unmoving. See if you can find vibration, oscillation, energy within that. Now, can you sense, still keeping a overall sense of the somatic body, Can you sense with all these sensations that they are happening within a sense of space? So we have an experience of the body as having dimension. So just notice that sense of space in which all these sensations are arising. And noticing it means letting go of ideas that our experience is necessarily of something solid. So we've got these sensations. I often refer to this as being like a cloud of sensations. If you imagine a sensate cloud, can you get a sense of what that's pointing to in your actual experience? A cloud of sensations. And like a cloud, it has dimension, it has its own inner space, so to speak. But a cloud also has no clear, definite boundaries. So see if also you can explore that in relation to your body experience. Can you find clear boundaries in this sensate cloud? And can you kind of sense the space also, the space in which these are arising, having no discernible boundaries? It's just a sense of space, dimension, without any particular edge. Okay, now within this experience of the body in this way, as being vibrational, being spacious, being somehow cloud-like, Be aware of the heart center. Or maybe more appropriately, be aware of the heart space. And if you're not sure where that is, you can ask, where is the heart? Where is the heart space? Okay, and then again, just let go of making any effort. Just be open. Just be openness. Okay, so in that last part, we started to put in place the aspect of the Soma, which we're going to the divine abode qualities tomorrow, the metta, the love. But are there any more general comments or observations about that? Especially with regard to the space, the sense of space, and maybe, the metaphor of the cloud. Does anyone have any sense of that?
For me, when you mentioned the cloud, that was perfect.
Yeah, can't hear you very well.
Oh.
That's all right. You're good.
When you mentioned the cloud, that
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's not, because it was like I was just going more and more into the sensations, and it was, it's like a cloud. It's just some stronger, but I just completely I lost the sense of the physical body.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I was just really into that cloud of sensation.
Mm.
And then when under the heart space was somewhere there, it was like, it's there.
Yeah. Like a space within a space almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Glad that worked for you. Anyone else?
Tejananda, do you know Carlo Rovelli, the physicist? He writes about time and space and things really beautifully, really poetically,
right,
and very accessible. I think Banti really liked him. But he says that space is granular. Which is one of the things he says that just really resonates with me, that You know, it's like there's particles of objects, but there's also particles in space. It's like there's no barrier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just got a sense of that in the meditation of just, you know, stuff.
Yeah. I won't go so far as to say that, well, you know, this is a kind of quantum meditation, but
Quantum meditation, yeah.
I'm not saying that, but you know, it's an analogy.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a quantum
Yeah,
meditation.
yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Any other?
So this is slightly off topic, but relating to the quantum thing. Is it always surprises me how powerful it is to meditate with other people, even online. It seems to really increase the ease and depth with which I get into meditation. And I heard a story that I read something about storytelling. And apparently when somebody tells a story, people who are listening to that story, they've done studies that show that their brains get into sync with the storyteller. And I wonder if that what happens here. And then somehow, even though there's distance and stuff, we're all kind of in sync in some way.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's, you know, what can I say? I don't know, but that it makes complete sense in a way. Yeah, that does seem to be our experience. Okay, Aggie, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that for me, the image that came to me, the cloud is great and I love this, but I felt like I had fallen to pieces like a jigsaw puzzle that was what's the word?
Done.
Undone, yeah.
Yeah.
So there were all these bits, but they felt separate and there were these big gaps between them.
Yeah.
That was what I called me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a sense, you can take it either way. You can get a sense of the cohesiveness of this whole cloud and the space that it's within, so to speak. But somatically, you know, there are areas where we don't have much sensation going on, so it can feel like there are literally holes in the soma, in the body. So they're somatic holes, they're experiential holes. Obviously, you know, in terms of the physical body, well, there are holes, but not that sort of holes. Yeah. So, you know, just note that you can, in some ways, it depends on the mental perspective that we bring to it. Yeah. Okay. Any other observations? Okay. Well, we've got to the end, so to speak. So tomorrow we'll kind of pick it up from there. I'll do a short meditation in which we sort of cover the ground that we've covered today, just to get us back to this sense of, especially the sense of, you know, somatic embodiment and spaciousness. And then we'll begin to explore that in relation to, you know, the heart, going back into the heart space, and love. So that's where we go tomorrow. Okay, see you then.